everybody, welcome back to Hidden Harvest with Liz. Today we're going to be talking about why you should get chickens. I know, my last episode was don't get chickens. Whatever you do, don't get chickens. You're not ready, you're not prepared, you're not... Well, if you're watching this, you've probably already been thinking about getting chickens. You probably already have your reasons for doing so. Some of which might be the rising cost of eggs. Some might be for other reasons. And let's go ahead and cover what all of those reasons might potentially be on why you might want chickens. Number one reason people get chickens, eggs. They think that they're going to save a whole lot of money on getting eggs from the store, when in reality, you might be able to make even, possibly break even if you're selling some of your eggs that you don't use. Depending on how many chickens you have, you might be able to break even on the cost it would take to get eggs from the store. But if you're comparing egg to egg instead of apples to oranges, the eggs that you're going to get that you're going to raise yourself are vastly superior to the things that you can get in the store. And that's included the pasture-raised eggs. They're not really pastures. It's more like a little walking area that the chickens can have, and they share it with like 50 other birds. So even if you do get chickens, even if you have a small chicken run, you're offering your chickens time outside, you're giving them a variety of food, all of that stuff, you're still going to be raising healthier chickens than you would find in the store. So I'm actually planning on expanding my chickens, which is what I'm working on right now. I'm planning on expanding. I should probably turn the light on, it's getting dark outside. Oh, we have a storm coming in, and I'm trying really hard to get all these videos done before the storm gets here, so I do apologize. I'm not waiting for vehicles to go by, so at some point the sound of the vehicles is probably going to overwhelm my voice, but I'm just going to try and work through it so I can go ahead and get these videos taken care of so I can get on to showing you how to do this, because I'm actually picking my chickens up tomorrow, so I got to get this done. I actually took notes so I wouldn't babble. I have to do this, otherwise I will start babbling. The top reason that I actually listed on here is it's the easiest animal for homesteaders to start with. It's like the easiest one to maintain. It takes the least amount of work. They're usually pretty easy to find. The chicks are relatively cheap as opposed to some farm animals. I know I'm making a heck of a ton of noise. Hang on. I do apologize. I'm trying to work at the same time because it keeps me moving. They're the easiest ones to get into in that the cost of a chicken is relatively cheap, especially if you get chicks, especially if you don't have them sexed. They are $3 or $4 a piece, whereas if you get a goat or a sheep or something, you're looking at like $200 on the low end for a sheep that's not registered at all, as in they have like a family line or something. Same for cows, same for horses. I'm pretty sure goats and all of them, they're about the same thing. The only thing that might compare on the price per animal might be rabbits, but I haven't actually priced rabbits in a very long time. I thought about getting rabbits there for a little while for their manure, but I haven't made that decision or decided on that yet. But, so the startup cost on the actual animal is relatively cheap. Now, obviously, you need a setup for them. The setup doesn't have to look like this. It can be a big wash, but not a wash basin. I'm not sure what you would call them. I'll put a picture of it on one side of the camera or another. People put them in there, and then they bring them outside when they get bigger. So startup is relatively cheap. I got one of these last year for, I don't know, like $4 or something like that, which is what their food goes into. And I got a water thing for them, and that was like $14 somewhere around there. Now, it wasn't long before I upgraded past this into this, because as soon as I got old enough to jump on this and start getting adventurous, they started jumping on this and knocking all their food over, so I moved up to this so it was harder to knock over. A warmer for your chicken, which is actually what I got right here at my feet. This is the one that I got for this year. I got a much smaller one last year, but I looked on it and the price has gone to $45, and this was like $56. And I didn't have to wait for it to be shipped to me, so I went ahead and got it from my Tractor Supply. So that's like $50 there, 16 there, 16 here if you want to go ahead and start with this one instead of getting the smaller one. What was it? I want to say it was $17 to get their food. I think that was it. And the bedding for whenever they first come home, it's actually recommended that you not use pine shavings. It's actually not recommended to use pine shavings until they get a little bit older. I use the fine pine shavings. They've also got rough pine shavings, which are quite a bit chunkier. These are supposed to be for after they get a little bit older. This is when they're smaller, and they recommend using something like newspaper boxes, paper towels, or something like that when they're first born, and upgrade after about a week. Now, the cost on those the pine shavings are, I don't know, like $8, I think, for a bag of those if you wanted to go ahead and get them. So the startup cost is smaller than, say, a cow, a sheep, a goat, something like that. So if you're wanting to get into the homesteading life, the chicken is like the gateway drug to homesteading. You first get your chicken math kicks in before you know it. You've got an entire flock of chickens that you don't know what to do with, and then you start thinking about your next animal. So be careful. Be careful. You have been warned. Warmed? Are we warm yet? You have been warned that it is a gateway animal to homesteading. That's typically where people start. My next reason was the quality of eggs, which we already covered. It's kind of obvious the healthier an animal is, the product that the animal produces, whatever it is, bees, honey, sheep, their wool, meat, milk, goats, milk, meat, cows, milk, meat, any of the stuff that they produce, whatever you get from the animal, the healthier the animal is, the better the quality of the thing that you're going to get from said animal. So if you're raising it yourself, the quality is obviously going to be better. It's going to be healthier. It's going to be more nutrient dense than you will find from a store that has their chickens / whatever other animal stuck in a stall or cage delivering you stuff until their body just completely gives out. I don't even want to get into the discussion about how bad a life those chickens have. That kind of lends itself to my next point, which is, you know what went into it. There's a lot of people who are on this fad, and I don't call it a fad, it makes kind of sense, that they want their beef pasture raised. They want grass-fed beef, as in the cows were raised properly. They were out on pasture, and they got sun, and they moved around, and, you know, things like that a normal cow should be doing, instead of stuck in a cage inside like 5 or 6 different ones being fed grain their entire life. The ones that got out experienced life as much as a cow does, you know, eating stuff and enjoying the sun, you know, those kinds of things. That there's a whole lot more health to that. There's a whole lot more nutrition to that. There's just that in general. People in general. Also, I mean, if someone was trying to establish whether or not people are healthy, is what goes into us. Or is the only thing that we're putting into ourselves is, I don't know, junk food, TV, and a sedentary life, you're not going to be a very healthy person. If you're outside doing stuff, if you're raising your own food, if you're taking your vitamins and stuff like that, if you're going on walks, if you're out experiencing things, you're going to be healthier. It's the same thing for an animal. Quality of life for the chicken itself. I think everybody by now knows how bad chicken houses really are. The quality of life that you can offer a chicken, even if all you've got is a chicken house and a little chicken run, that life will be better than a tiny little cage where they can't do anything besides look left, look right, and there's a food tray, and they just poop out their eggs, and that's it. That's their entire existence. They can't even go anywhere. The quality of life that you're going to be able to give a chicken on your farm, on your property, wherever, is going to be 1,000 times better than that. People can only do what they can do, meaning like if you've got a huge, I don't know, 50 acres or something like that, and you want to free range your chickens, obviously they're going to have a better quality of life than someone who has to keep them in a coop. But the ones inside a coop are going to have a better quality of life than the ones that are kept inside a cage. So when you think of it, you're actually offering this animal a better life. Because of that quality of life, obviously they're getting a whole lot more nutrients and everything else like that. We basically covered that in some of the other things. But there's also going to be a higher disease resistance. In my last episode where I said don't get chickens is because, A, what happens if they get sick? They could sneeze. Animals get sick. They do. Your home chickens are going to be a lot healthier than the ones that are going to be inside a chicken farm. And the reason being is because they're not being crowded by 5,000 different chickens. They're not being forced to lay eggs back to back to back to back. And they're being fed a more robust meal. Even if the only thing that you give them is the chicken feed you get from the store and whatever it is that that happens to get caught up inside of their chicken coop, such as bugs or something like that that come by, they're still eating healthier than the ones who are set inside the cage. Now, you can say that the ones that were pasture raised in a factory might be doing a little bit better. but not by much. Their pasture raise is an area this big with wood chips down. It's not a pasture, it's just an area for them to walk in, and that's all they can do is they just walk in this little area underneath grow lights and stuff. They're not even getting actual sunlight. So the fact that your chickens are allowed actual sunlight, the fact that they're outside with fresh air, they're not stuck inside a big factory with just fans pushing who knows what kind of stuff back and forth through the wind and things like that. Obviously, your chicken's going to be healthier for that reason. Now, I already covered the fertilizer. I'll just go ahead and say I will cover this later on because I will be cleaning out the chicken coop later. And chicken fertilizer is absolutely amazing. It does have to sit for like 6 months before you use it. I'm just going to go ahead and say that there in case I forget to mention it later on. If you get chickens, even if they're like the baby chicks or whatever, you still have to compost the chicken manure for like 6 months to allow some of the nitrogen to like vent off and everything else like that, and to balance the fertilizer out. But they make great fertilizer. We already covered this one. Take care of insects. I have had my chickens sitting over there this whole time. I have a lot less insects inside my chicken, my garden area. And anytime I find a particular bug that's annoying the crap out of me, I can take said bug and put it into my chicken coop and watch them tear it apart. If it's a grub and it's inside my garden, it's going to eat the root of my plants. I have no problem feeding it to my chickens and they love them. I covered companionship. And the reason I mean this is not because they have qualities of dogs or cats or whatever. Chickens are more or less independent, except that they also need to watch you so that something does not eat them. They don't really need companionship in much the same way as a cat doesn't really need companionship. But what I mean is, as far as companionship, it is an animal that you are caring for. In a lot of cases, people feel disconnected from the world. They feel, I don't know, there was a time period in my youth, whenever I went to a place, I would feel like I was looking at myself from the outside. It's a very odd feeling. But I didn't actually feel like I existed there, that I was there, that I was doing the things that I was doing. It was very disassociative or something. I won't say it was an actual full disassociative thing, but it was more like, okay, I'm here, but I really don't feel like I'm actually here. I don't feel like I'm doing anything. And I give some of that to the fact that in my generation, we watched a lot of TV, consoles were just starting up. I think I had gotten my first Nintendo by this time or something like that. Well, we had a family Nintendo. I didn't have my own. The point being is whenever I went out to do things that required me physically to be there to engage with my environment, I had a hard time connecting to it. And as we get older and we're online more often, and we're creating friendships that are mostly online, most of our shopping online, most of our entertainment online, most of our life exists now online, whereas unless you're going to get a digipet, your animals are going to have to be taken care of by hand, which means it forces you out of that box, that bubble, that zone, into doing something that's actual physical, that's tactile, that will bring you and center you back into the earth, to the planet, to everything that exists here, Mother Nature, as it were. It allows you a chance to do that. I do hope that me moving back and forth is not messing up my microphone with this necklace. I didn't even think about this necklace. Anyway, moving on, aside from just the tactile companionship, the feeling like you're, what is the word that I'm looking for? There's a word that I'm looking for. If you can think of it, just put it down there in that comment section. But there's like a word for what I'm trying to describe. It's the fact that you are responsible for a creature and you see that creature thriving. It gives you a sense of pride and accomplishment. So in that way, that is a companionship. Yes, chickens make noise whenever they do their eggs. They have their egg song, so there is that. Me, personally, I think that's a bonus. I think their egg song is kind of adorable. It's really cute, especially since I have a rooster that occasionally will do the egg song along with them. It's hilarious. If you don't know what an egg song is, it's basically like the bark sounds and stuff like that. The actual sounds that you associate with a chicken is actually the chicken's egg song. They don't make a whole lot of noise just walking around and scratching for stuff and things like that. They don't make a ton of noise. The rooster will crow. The hens will go about their business, scratching around, looking for things, but whenever they start making noise, that's their egg song. They're just going to go lay an egg, and they basically announce it by making those noises. And occasionally a rooster can join them in making that noise as kind of a I don't know, I kind of think of it as in sympathy of what the hen is actually going through. The chicken is making the noise. The rooster is making the noise too. I think it's adorable. But some people, of course, might find that annoying, which is kind of the reason. I think I probably should have included that with one of the reasons not to get chickens, but I don't think I did. Anyway, my final reason for getting chickens. You cannot sit there and watch chickens rummaging around inside their chicken coop, looking for stuff, giving them some food, and watching them eat it and everything like that. And it's very hard to watch them and be sad. I heard a content creator, he's actually a podcaster, Tim Pool. He's got like this entire chicken town thing that he has. It's actually a live stream, you can watch his chickens. But he mentioned the fact that whenever you're watching chickens, you just can't be sad. So one of the days that I was feeling very upset about something, I don't even at this point remember what it was, I decided since I couldn't focus on work, I would stop what I was doing, grab me a drink, and go outside and watch my chickens. And that's what I did. And about 15 minutes later, I felt fine. I was smiling, they were being silly, the whole 9 yards. You really can't watch chickens do their chicken thing and be sad. It's kind of amazing. So, those are my reasons why you should most certainly have chickens in your life. I have told you the good, the bad, the ugly, the everything that is in between on having chickens, and I hope you come to a good decision about whether or not you should or should not have chickens. The whole point was to simply say that there is more to it than just running out and getting chickens. There's a creature that you're taking home and being responsible for. You can't just say, I'm going to get this chicken because it's going to give me eggs, and not think the whole thing through. Because once you start adding all the things up, once you realize you actually have to care for them, you have to feed them, you have to change their bedding and stuff out, once all of those things become apparent, there's a few people that are just like, I wasn't expecting all of this. I don't want chickens anymore. And then before you know, you're trying to give your chickens to your neighbors and stuff like that, or just worse, letting the flock run free and the neighbor dogs eating all of them. I hope this has helped you make a very educated decision on whether or not you should get chickens. In my next couple of episodes in this series, I'll be teaching you from brooder to coop on how to raise your chickens. All of the things I have learned in my first year. And yes, I still have a whole bunch to learn because, like I said, this is just now going on my second year having chickens. My family had chickens when I was little, but I think it was middle school or something like that, like 6th or so grade or whatever. We didn't have any more chickens. My family decided we didn't want chickens anymore, I guess. So it was really like starting back over, learning all of the things. So all of the things that I have learned in my first year, I will be imparting on you as we get ready for our brand new chicks. I will see you guys in the next video. You have a wonderful day, and you stay shiny. Bye!